our first Women Bustin Barrier guest today is Camille Robb, and she and her hubs of 31 years, Albert, funded JFC For You, again, to cast a wider net for contributions, then continuing to self-fund this ever-growing need as they've done for the past several decades. Hey, folks, well, my apologies, my deepest apologies, because I was so excited to bring Camille onto the screen, I inadvertently toggled off the record button. So I'm going to relay this first story that Camille shared with us. But Camille is trained as a caregiver for infants, toddlers, and even the elderly. She was a teacher. She's a global speaker, entrepreneur, TV host, podcaster, philanthropist, of course, motivational and transformational speaker, global mom. You'll hear that, investor and author. And she's advocated for children 30 years. She's trained in all of these nursing kinds of capacities, and she has a heart of gold. She always talks about feeding one kid at a time. That's how she started. And so I asked her today, give us a glimpse into a typical day for you in this demanding mission of yours. And she said she was on her way to Starbucks when I called her earlier. She picks up food from Starbucks before they would otherwise throw it out. She takes it home. She sorts through it. It's hours of sorting. And then late at night, she goes with her husband and perhaps other volunteers under the bridge to deliver that food to people who are hungry. And I know we were on a phone call while we were setting this up a couple of months ago, and she said, hold on, Deborah. And I held on, and she comes back on and she said, I just got a call from a student in Uganda, and I had to wire him money for his schooling. And I was just like, this woman does not stop. So she had just returned from a trip to Sri Lanka, then Nigeria, then South Africa, just boom, boom, boom countries, and got home and wasn't home even a day and got a call. She was needed to go and pretty much rescue, revive this girl, young girl in Jamaica, which is, of course, Camille's home country, who had been viciously raped and left to die, and had never recovered years later, a recluse. And Camille got on the plane and arrived and was introduced to this girl. And she was very shy. And Camille said, it's okay, I'm safe. And when you are in Camille's presence, even on the screen, she just exudes such an open spirit. No wonder she's called the cosmic mother and so forth. And she befriended this girl. She thought the girl was 11 or 12 years old. In reality, she was 18, yet she presented as an 11 or 12-year-old. And that's so often the case when something of that kind of severity happens to people, they pretty much, they're stopped, right? They're stopped. Raped and left to die, she was. So as Camille learned a little bit more about her, and over the days, she nicknamed her Little Feet. So they had this little banter going on, which helped with the openness and the trust, if you will. And she said, I'm taking you shopping and your 4 girlfriends here that were living in very humble abode. And these girls had never been shopping. They said, we don't have any money. And Camille said, your money, your currency is smiles and hugs. And so they went shopping. And these girls bought jeans and sandals and, she said, everything. And they continued to come up and all smiles, and they were hugging Camille and each other. And then Little Feet saw a purse that probably she felt was more than what she should get. And she came up unexpected behind Camille and gave her a big hug. And Camille is very much an intuitive. She has a lot of ability to sense and to know. And as Little Feet hugged her from behind, it shocked her so much. And she heard Little Feet's screams and the terror in her voice. from that rape years earlier. Camille just was frozen in that moment, just reliving and bonding with Little Feet. She had some semblance of the pain of Little Feet. And she turned around and just embraced her as they both sobbed. And Little Feet said to her, "Mama, I didn't think anybody cared anymore about me." This is the kind of transformation that Camille Robb is involved in. This is the hope that she brings people, so many of whom have not a shred of hope. And she's called into action and has a network literally all over the world. And she comes in and uses her wisdom and her experience and her connections. And it's incumbent upon us, I think, to join with her elbow in elbow and give her money. We're not asking you to give her time. That's a valuable asset. Let's give her money because she and Albert are the boots on the ground. And she's going to share with us another story right now. Big feet carrying it out. And I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Just unbelievable. You have also a student exchange. You have a student exchange program. And for families send their children to the United States to learn English and to get educated and so forth. And so you're basically helping kids from all over the world get acclimated, get the education. And I want you to share the story of the little boy, or not so little, in Congo, Chris.
So I have an exchange student program, and it's called Just Fabulous Care. And what we do, we take children from all over the world, and their parents send them here to the United States for me to place them into a home. And from the money that I make from that, I use it to actually take it and transfer it over to JFC for You to provide education for children that cannot afford to. So one of my students that was with me, she was from Congo, and she told me that there's a little boy that need to go to school. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure if that's going to be something that I can do. And my husband said, let's do it. Because that's my husband. He's always said, let's do it. And then he looked at me and he said, so where are we going to get the money from? And I'm like, oh, I guess I need to talk to God and see what he thinks. Right as soon as I said that, my sister called me and she said, hey, where are you? I got something for you. I said, I'm home. She said, no, are you home? Are you at the garden? Where are you? I said, I'm at the garden. She said, okay, I'm coming over there. I'm 5 minutes away from you. And she came over and she handed me a check. And when she handed me a check, I looked at my student and I said, I told you God was going to send me that check. And she looked at me like, oh. And my husband said, okay, so we send in Chris to school, right? I said, yes, we send in Chris to school. My sister said, no, we're not sending Chris to no school. She said, no, you're going to go take this and you're going to buy you shoes or a pocketbook or something. You're not, every time I give you something, you take it and trying to save the world. Stop trying to save the world. Let somebody. I said, if I don't do it, who will? I said, if I don't send him to school, who will? This little boy, 16 years old, have no mother because his mother was killed and his father was killed. He's been living on people's floor and getting food to go as they come. I can't know that and not do something about it. He wants to learn a trade. And in countries like that, the best thing is to learn a trade so you can help yourself and you could also help others.
Absolutely.
And he wanted to do that. So I said, okay, the next day I wired the money to the school and for him to start. And when he started, I didn't know he had a skin problem. So that would be another negative against him because people in the village already were talking negative about him. And I said, I need to know what you need for school. what kind of uniform you need, everything. And I made sure he had everything that he needed. And my husband said, how can we get him his own little place? So the student that I have, I asked her mom, I said, can you find him a little place so he's not on the street? And she said, yes, ma'am, I can do that. She found him a little room. He had his bed in it. I bought him a little stove so he can cook his own food. We bought him little stuff. And can you imagine you putting a 16-year-old in a little place for his own? Can you imagine that? But
Amazing.
we had no choice because we want him to learn something so he could teach other. My motto is each one teach one. So I taught him something that never give up. When he graduated 3 years after that, he graduated from the university. He was the number one student in his class. He was valid. We call it valedictorian here. But can you imagine that? He gotten to that point where he's now able to take care of himself and he's able to teach someone else. So this is what JFC for you is about. Each one teach one. I'm not just going to keep giving you the food. I'm going to teach you how to fish so you can go out there and fish for yourself and help other people. That's all we want to do. Provide the need of others so that they can go out and bless others. We don't just plant seeds in the ground. We plant seeds in the life of others so they can go out and make a difference. And we have to start with me. I have to start it.
First of all, thank you for being with us. Thank you for answering the calls. And I want to open it to our peeps for questions. Who has a question for Camille? I mean, my heart is just completely wide open with gratitude for you and the work, all of the lives that you've touched. Who has a question? I mean, I'm on the phone with Camille like a few weeks ago, and she says, "Hold on, Deborah, I got to take this call." And so I'm on hold. I'm driving. I'm on hold for a little while, and she goes, "Oh, I had a student from Uganda called. I had to wire some money." Okay, my call can wait, sweetheart. Wendy Lyons, what's your question, Wendy?
It says that the chat is disabled.
Oh, for the love of Mike, my bad. Oh, go ahead
But
and voice your
that
question.
said, I want to tell you, I see why they call you fabulous, Camille Robb. I love your heart. And I live by the creed that if I do not withhold good from your hand when it is within your power to act, therefore, if I can help you, I must help you. And you definitely have that attitude. And, you know, they say if you save one life, it's if you saved the entire world. And you're saving an entire world with each child that you save. I love what you do. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Good as Maris.
Hi there. I'm not seeing myself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Okay. Camille, love you. Love your heart, your powerful, powerful heart. And oof, I share so many of the experiences that you bring forward in a lot of the work I do. And that you do this full time is just powerful. And I have two questions for you. One, this has clearly been in your calling and in your heart a long time, but when did you actually choose this as your calling? And what barriers did you have to break through to make these choices? Because this is not small. This is a lifestyle you've chosen.
Thank you for the thank you for your love. I appreciate it. Well, I didn't want this. I didn't want this, but experience. When I was a child, I had two brothers that I had to fend for, and I had to feed them. I didn't know what I was doing at that time, but my mother did what she could with what she had. And as the oldest one, I had to find the food. So I know what it's like to not eat, to make my siblings eat. And I experienced that. And I told God I didn't want that. I didn't want to do this. And then I came into the United States and I started with the daycare. And I saw that then, and I'm like, why in the United States children are hungry? Why is this happening? This is not supposed. I understand in Jamaica, yeah, because it's not easy. But I'm here into a country where we're supposed to have food abundant, and we throw away a lot of food, but we still have our children not having food. And then he said, well, if you feed my children, I will provide for you. I said, okay. He wasn't feeding, he wasn't providing for me. I was taking it from my paycheck. And I was taking it into a facility that was telling me that I cannot feed these children. But how are these children gonna learn from me if their belly's hungry? So what I do, I sneak it in the backpack that I carry around. And when I get in there, I tell them, I say, if you tell anybody about this food, they're going to take it away and take me away. And my kids, especially AJ would take the chair and stick it up underneath the door. And he said, okay, Miss Rosie, let's go. And we will set up the table and we will eat. And when we finish, we put everything back in my bag. We left no evidence. But one thing I know with my children, they weren't eating at each other. They weren't angry. They weren't fighting. They weren't arguing. They were ready to learn. And once I taught them what they needed to learn, they were good. My kids would lay down and take a nap when every other classroom was raising hallelujah. Okay. So ever since I was 17 years old, I've been feeding the needs of children.
Well, I am just filled with emotion, and as I say, gratitude comes to mind. It just keeps spilling out of my lips. And fabulous, Camille, we are committed to the transformational work that your life and Albert's life epitomizes. And so again, I urge you to upgrade to VIP so that a portion of those funds go. And also her QR code is there such that you can make your own contribution and you can take this story to your friends, as well as the recording of this, and spread the word, because that's how we're going to be empowered as a sisterhood, as a community of saints, if you will, as human beings, being human, truly human. It breaks my heart that you've got to sneak food in the United States to feed kids, and the kids get up and watch in case the cops come. That is horrific. And yet you are busting barriers every single morning you get out of your bed. And I couldn't thank you enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Camille has a huge family, as you might imagine, people calling her mama and sister and whatnot from all over the world. Camille, again, thank you. And